On a fateful day in February 11th, 1979, the humble 17-foot motorboat known as the Sarah Joe went from the tranquil shores of Hana, Maui, carrying 5 adventurous souls. The sky was clear and the sea was calm, promising an idyllic fishing expedition. Little did they know, as Sarah Joe sailed off into the horizon, they were heading towards an unexpected tragedy. As the hours passed, nature's mood shifted. The serene ocean turned somewhat malevolent, unleashing monstrous 40-foot waves and fierce winds that swallowed the Sarah Joe whole. The men and their vessel vanished, leaving behind only questions and a haunting mystery. Nearly a decade later, the Sarah Joe resurfaced over 2,300 miles away on a desolate atoll in the Marshall Islands. Yet, instead of bringing closure, its reappearance only deepened the mystery surrounding the fate of its crew. This is the chilling tale of the Sarah Joe and its crew, a story of the sea's unfathomable depths and lingering whispers of the unknown. On a serene Sunday morning, February 11th, 1979, in the cozy town of Hana, the day unfolded with promise. The sky stretched out, the vast canvas blue mirroring its hue onto the tranquil waters of the Hana Bay, which lay as still as a pond. Nature seemed to conspire for a perfect day outside. The sun beamed down warmly, accompanied by a gentle southerly breeze, inviting anyone with heart for adventure to venture forth. Among those captivated by the day's allure were 5 seasoned fishermen, drawn to the call of the open sea. Despite it being their day off from the usual grind of work, these friends, bound by a shared passion of construction, had originally planned to spend the day laboring on a house project. Yet the irresistible allure of the calm waters beckoned them towards a different endeavor. At the helm of this impromptu expedition was Ralph Malakini, a 27-year-old native Hawaiian entrenched in the trucking business. His longing for the open sea ignited the spark that led him to rally his comrades for the day of fishing. Among them stood Patrick Wosner, a 26-year-old carpenter hailing from the small community of Aihaku in eastern Maui. Known for his robust physique and his demeanor often likened to a street fighter, Patrick's efforts to assimilate into the conservative local culture were evident. Despite his rugged exterior, his endeavor to connect with the community through shared experiences such as collaborating on construction projects and even forming a softball team for his local league was definitely noted. Accompanying Ralph and Patrick was Scott Moorman, a 27-year-old epitome of athleticism and beachside charm. With his towering stature and rugged good looks, Scott exuded an air of vitality that belied the complexities of his personal life. Despite the shadows of failed marriage lingering in the past, Scott found solace in the idyllic landscape of Hana, where dreams of a fresh start took root. His parents, witnessing the transformative effect on his relocation, marveled at the newfound tranquility and contentment that enveloped their son. Rounding out the group was Peter Hinchent and Benjamin Collum, whose presence added a dynamic flair to the ensemble. United by their shared love of the sea and the promise of adventure, these 5 friends were on a journey that would weave their destinies together in unforeseen ways. Peter, the seasoned 31-year-old plumber and son of a respected ranch manager, stood as the sole licensed plumber in the quaint town of Hana. Like many of his peers, he embraced the dual passions of fishing and wild animal hunting with an infectious enthusiasm. Meanwhile, Benjamin, the group's eldest at 38, brought a wealth of experience as a mason and tile setter, juggling his responsibilities of fatherhood to 5 children spanning ages 6 to 16. Despite the demands of the respective trades, the allure of the open sea just called to them all, offering a chance to showcase their collective expertise amassed over the 5 decades of seafaring adventures. Gathering at the familiar confines of Hasagawa General Store, the men stocked up on the essentials under the watchful eye of the jovial proprietor, Harry Hasagawa. Laden with gasoline, beer, bait, ice, and an assortment of snacks, the group extended a spontaneous invitation to Harry, hoping to share the day's excitement with their amiable host. However, Harry's aversion to swimming and deep-seated fear of drowning served as a poignant reminder of the inherent risks lurking beneath the serene surface of the ocean, prompting his reluctant refusal. The vessel of choice, the Sarah Joe, was a sturdy 17-foot craft built by Boston Whaler, bore the indelible mark of a familial heritage, named in honor of Ralph's parents, Sarah and Joe. Under the stewardship of Ralph's twin brother Robert, the boat stood ready to ferry the adventurers across the expanse of the ocean. Armed with a 85 horsepower outboard engine and a reliable 7.5 horsepower kicker, the Sarah Joe exuded an aura of resilience, its purported unsinkability drawing admiration from some and skepticism from everyone else, including the ever-watchful eye of the U.S. Coast Guard. For the intrepid crew, the Sarah Joe represented more than just a vessel. It symbolized camaraderie, adventure, and the purpose of bounty awaiting beneath the azure depths. With their sights set on the elusive Alua, a coveted prize of the Hana's angling community, the men then went on their journey laden with anticipation. Whether destined for the fish markets of the town, or dinner tables of their families, or even the convivial gathering amongst friends, the Alua promised the bounty worth the pursuit. With the provisions stowed and the spirits high, the Sarah Joe cast off into the embrace of the open sea, ushering in a day teeming with promise and possibility. Ralph, the captain of the boat, guided the Sarah Joe towards the opening of Hana Bay. After passing a rocky island, he steered to the right and then headed south, aiming for a spot where he had previously had great luck at catching fish. The spot located within the Alanaja Channel, which I'm like 4% certain I said that right, I recorded that like 8 times, which lies between Maui and Big Island. This channel is known for its rough waters, with depths plunging to 17,000 feet and strong surface currents pushing southwestward. The weather in the Alanaja Channel was famously unpredictable. Even on what seemed like a warm and calm day, such as February 11th, 1979, storms could still develop rapidly. While larger vessels might have the strength to endure these conditions, smaller boats like the Sarah Joe had to be wary. It was crucial for them to outrun any sudden storms in order to safely return to shore. Did the 5 men aboard the Sarah Joe consider these dangers before setting sail at 10 o'clock in the morning? It appears that their excitement overshadowed these important facts, leaving them unaware of the potential risks that they were facing. While 3 of the other boats from Hana managed to safely return to port after venturing into the channel that day, the fate of the Sarah Joe was tragically different. Plunging the town of Hana into distress, what was intended to be a leisurely fishing trip turned into a catastrophe within just 2 hours. Unbeknownst to Ralph and his crew, a low-pressure system crept into the region around noon, shortly after the Sarah Joe set sail from Hana. The wind suddenly shifted to the north and rapidly gained strength. By early afternoon, a powerful storm had engulfed the channel. According to one of the skippers from a boat that made it back safely, the conditions outright resembled a raging river, intense windstorms and massive waves, some towering up to 14 feet high, and they battered the area relentlessly. The sky seemed to split open, unleashing a deluge of heavy rain upon the channel. The storm was described by senior residents of Hana as the worst they had ever experienced in 5 decades. Just a month earlier, the town had faced another formidable storm that had claimed the lives of 2 crewmen when it sank an 80-foot steel hull research ship named the Holo Holo. However, this storm that struck on that fateful Sunday was particularly violent, causing widespread flooding and extensive damage throughout Hana. The Sarah Joe found itself overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the thick, relentless rain, the howling savage wind, and the tumultuous waves. By late afternoon, the families of the Sarah Joe's passengers, including Peter's father, John Henson Sr., and Ralph's brother Robert, who owned the boat, grew increasingly concerned and reported the vessel missing to the Coast Guard. Despite efforts from John, Robert, and the local men to search the area to the south, the ferocious waves and poor visibility hindered their progress. Even marine biologist John Naughton joined the search alongside Mr. Hench Sr. However, the unforgiving forces of nature thwarted their attempts. Mr. Hench Sr. recounted that the weather in this channel was the worst I'd ever seen it. The swells were so large that it had been 50 yards from them, he wouldn't have seen them. When it got dark, we couldn't even see 10 feet nearby. Despite their efforts, they found no trace of the Sarah Joe or its 5 occupants. The U.S. Coast Guard initiated an initial search after that afternoon, deploying a helicopter and diverting a C-130 fixed-wing aircraft from another mission. However, the relentless storm and encroaching darkness rendered their efforts ineffective due to poor visibility. The following day marked the beginning of the Coast Guard's extensive 5-day search operation for the Sarah Joe, which would become one of the largest sea searches in Hawaii's history. Nearly 50 planes and helicopters were dispatched to comb through a vast expanse of 73,000 square miles of ocean, dedicating close to 330 hours of flight time to the search efforts. Additionally, boats were utilized in the search operations. However, several challenges hindered both sea and air searches. According to Captain Jim Cushman of the U.S. Coast Guard, the lack of precise information regarding the Sarah Joe's fishing location posed a significant obstacle. He explained, the initial search area was quite broad because we didn't have a precise location where the Sarah Joe had been fishing. As a result, the search area expanded significantly on the first day and continued to grow. Another challenge stemmed from the formidable currents in the Ala Nuhaha Channel area, rendering it impassable by boat. As each day passed and the currents carried the Sarah Joe further and further away, the likelihood of locating the boat dwindled. Furthermore, persistent high winds and limited visibility hampered aerial search efforts. The Naval Ocean Systems Center in San Diego attempted to employ homing pigeons trained to detect the distinctive color of international orange or red. However, the strategy proved absolutely futile as adverse weather conditions forced the planes carrying the pigeons to land, resulting in the birds becoming disoriented and lost. After enduring 5 exhausting days, the Coast Guard made the difficult decision to suspend the official search for the Sarah Joe. With no significant clues unearthed, it was presumed that the Boston whaler had succumbed to the unfathomable depths of the ocean. Understandably, this conclusion left the families and friends of the 5 missing men feeling unsettled. Some compassionate residents of Hana questioned why the intensity of the Coast Guard search peaked during periods of poor visibility and then gradually waned as the weather conditions improved. Despite acknowledging that the Sarah Joe may have been ill-prepared to confront such colossal storms, John Hatchett Sr. held on to the belief that his son Peter and his companions were resilient, seasoned fishermen and proficient swimmers capable of supporting one another. He and the other families remained steadfast in their conviction that the 5 friends could have survived the storm, refusing to accept their fate unless evidence of the vessel's wreckage was surfaced. Yet nothing was discovered, not a trace. Thus, their unwavering hope and tenacity spurred them to launch a prolonged private search effort for an additional week. This unyielding determination epitomized the resilience of a father who dared to hold on to the possibility of the impossible. In a remarkable display of unity and determination, a group of friends, family members, and even strangers rallied together to support their private search effort. Several friends generously offered the use of their own boats, while others contributed financially, collectively donating an impressive $50,000. With unwavering resolve, they scoured the beaches and the remote waters of the south shore of Maui, along with the Hamakua coast of Big Island. Despite their exhaustive efforts over the course of the grueling week, they found no signs of the Sarah Joe wreckage, save for a lone life jacket that did not belong to the missing fishermen. The absence of any tangible leads left the family and friends feeling frustrated and heartbroken, as their loved ones had been inexplicably swallowed by the void. For the tight-knit community of Hana, it took a year for a glimmer of hope to fade entirely. Eventually, a memorial service was held in honor of the memory of Ralph, Patrick, Peter, Benjamin, and Scott. With the closure of their remains, the 5 men were laid to rest, marking the end of a chapter filled with unanswered questions and unfulfilled hopes. However, fate has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. As mentioned earlier, among those who assisted John Hatchett Sr. in the search for the Sarah Joe was a marine biologist, Johann Naughton of the National Marine Fisheries Service. On September 10, 1988, the marine biologist went on a wildlife expedition commissioned by the East-West Center and the government of the Marshall Islands with the aim of identifying a suitable site for wildlife sanctuary. Their journey led them to Tiangi Atoll, a remote collection of tiny islands enclosing a 30-square-mile lagoon situated approximately 2,200 miles away from Hana. Despite the picturesque appearance, the atoll remained uninhabited, primarily due to its reputation as a poor fishing ground for the local Marshallese population. Characterized by its semi-arid climate, limited rainfall, and absence of fresh surface water, the atoll presented a stark and desolate landscape. Access to the lagoon was restricted to a narrow break, with Sabila Island serving as one of the narrow strips of land bordering the lagoon. Sporadically inhabited by migratory birds, the island boasted few species of plants, and none of which were suitable for human consumption. With its dry climate prevailing for most of the year, Sabila Island stood as one of the loneliest outposts in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. On that scorching September day, Naughton and his team of 4 scientists ventured ashore Sabila Island in search of green sea turtles and nesting birds. However, their expedition took an unexpected turn when they stumbled upon a fairly buried fiberglass hull, bearing a striking resemblance to that of a Boston whaler. Upon closer examination, they discerned the letters HA engraved in the wood, indicating its registration in Hawaii. Yet it was a faint outline of the letters SAH and J that piqued Naughton's curiosity, prompting him to prolong their investigation and thoroughly scour the island for additional clues. 9 years and several unsuccessful search operations later, Naughton's persistence would finally unveil the long-awaited answer to the mysterious disappearance of the Sarah Joe. The discovery of a crude wooden cross marking a shallow coral-covered grave near the boat wreckage left Naughton and his team astounded. Their immediate concern shifted to the possibility of finding any traces of Sarah Joe's passengers. At the site, they encountered a protruding human jawbone atop the grave, yet remained uncertain whether it was linked to the Sarah Joe tragedy. Promptly, they reported their findings to the Coast Guard, who swiftly arrived at the scene and confirmed the boat's identity as the Sarah Joe. Upon excavating the grave, they made a chilling discovery. A heap of human skeletons lay beneath. Forensic analysis of the remains revealed them to be Scott Mormon's, confirmed through the dental records from California. However, the exact circumstances surrounding his demise remain elusive. Despite extensive searches of the surrounding islands, no clues pertaining to his 4 companions were unearthed. Adding to the mystery, investigators stumbled upon deliberately buried papers within his grave. These papers, arranged in an unbound stack measuring 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch, were interspersed with slips of tinfoil material. The reasons behind their burial alongside Scott's skeletons remain shrouded in uncertainty. The families of the 5 men enlisted the expertise of private investigator Steve Goodnow, who meticulously pieced together the puzzle using a combination of weather data, insights from officials of 3 governments, and his own thorough exploration of Sabila Island. His team uncovered several remaining skeletal fragments belonging to Scott and located the boat's engine wedged underwater in a nearby coral reef. Goodnow proposed a compelling theory. As the Sarajevo was propelled southwest by the storm, it veered northwest, coming dangerously close to Kauai Island in the Tiangi Atoll. At this juncture, some of the men likely attempted to swim ashore but tragically perished in the turbulent seas. Meanwhile, Scott chose to remain aboard the boat, enduring starvation and dehydration until the Sarajevo ultimately drifted to the atoll after 2 months at sea. This explanation elucidated why Scott's body was the sole one remaining when the boat ultimately crashed onto the reef of Sabila Island. Several years later, the crewmen aboard a Taiwanese fishing vessel stumbled upon Scott's remains. He accorded them a solemn burial, adhering to Chinese burial customs, which include providing papers, gold, and silver foil to the deceased as currency and symbols of fortune in the afterlife. However, due to the vessel's illegal fishing activities within the Marshal's territory, the discovery went unreported to the authorities. While pragmatic individuals might argue that the tragedy of the Sarajevo could have been averted had the men just checked the weather forecast that day, it's challenging to assign blame. The allure of the ocean's divine beauty and its promise of tranquility is an irresistible temptation for many, yet beneath the serene surface lies a mysterious force that has given rise to unfathomable maritime calamities. In remembrance of the Sarajevo and his crew, Ralph, Peter, Patrick, Benjamin, and Scott, the town of Hana has erected a poignant memorial plaque of Hana Bay, engraved with a simple yet kind of important inscription. Hana remembers her sons. The memorial serves as a comforting reminder even amidst the lingering pain of knowing that the remains of the other 4 men may never be discovered. But anyhow, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, leaving a like would be great. Subscribing is a great way to stay up to date on when I post. How absolutely wild is it that you could be 2,300 miles away and then just come across a thing that you actually helped search for originally? That's like very peculiar. Anyhow, thank you for watching. I want to thank my patrons real quick. At the Literal Wendigo tier, we have Grayson West, Stupid Fox, and Trash Panda in a trench coat. Thank you very much, guys. At the Eyewitness to the Event tiers, we have Beaver Malaga and Wet Skeleton. At the first-hand accounts, we have Cody Cherry Drake and Yeeps. And at the second-hand accounts, we have Bianca, Kanan Johnson, Fred Rush, and Troy. And the rest of my patrons, I appreciate y'all's support as well. It is super helpful and keeps everything running around here. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see y'all in the next one.